All right, so before I want to start, I want to show you something that a previous student made. This is his. So you get one free website from GitHub. That's going to be yourusername.github.io. And Mark, great student from last cohort, this is his page. Very simple, elegant. When you scroll, the background stays, and then this has a bit of an opacity to it. So it looks pretty cool. And then here's a list of projects that we've worked on throughout the class. So this is a great way to show like the projects that you've worked on. For instance, we have the Star Wars dating app that we made. So, this, yeah. Yeah. So there's that. There's, we made a weather app. Oh, he's working on this beer project. I don't know how far you got on it. He was working on that. And then search for an artist and get similar song. Still in progress, So, TV show song. I think this was having issues with too. Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that you want to be going for. And these are all projects that we worked on in class together. So even if it wasn't like, even though you didn't start it all, then like it still doesn't matter. Just take the projects that we make in here. You could call them your own. I'm not copywriting any of this. Take it for what it is. Might as well put things on your own profile. But this is kind of the idea where you have like a home page, and then you have a couple of projects that you've worked on. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about pseudo classes and what they're good for. All right. So here is my HTML. Let's make, what are we going to make? A div with an ID of test. I need to be a box. That's for the sake of it. And then we'll target it by box. Height 60 pixels with 100 pixels and a background color of magenta. Cool. Now let's say when we hover over this box, we want it to like stretch across the page, the entire page, just like go zoom. So basically make it go full width. So if we remember our algorithm from yesterday, anyone remember the steps to adding transitions? Step 1 is to target OG. Can I say OG for original? Target the OG element, and give it a transition property. All right, here's our original element. Give it the transition property. Then step 2, give that transition property other properties, things you want to change, and for how long, right? So in this case, we want to change the width, and we'll make it like 3 seconds. So in 3 seconds, it's going to go from however long this box is to full width. And then step 3, give the OG element a hover selector and change the property. added in step 2. So we'll target our box, and you add a colon and then hover. So when they were designing CSS, they're like, okay, how should we do it? Should we do like box space hover, or like box hyphen hover, box, I don't know, arrow hover? And they're like, nah, let's keep it simple. So they just said, hey, if you put a colon in between an element and the word hover, then that means it triggers on the hover. And so change the property you added in step 2. So step 2, we added the width of 3 seconds. So we'll change the width to 100%. So what that's going to do now is in 3 seconds, it's going to change the width from whatever it was to 100%. So, woo, woo. So if we didn't have this transition property, then what would happen? Would it still work? It would, but it would just pop. There's no nice, smooth transition. Right? So that's all the transitions do. That instead of like popping, they just gradually move. We can change other things too, like let's change the height to, so it was, we'll make it 50. We'll change the height to 100 pixels. But we never added it to the transition property. So it's not going to have a nice transition, it's just going to pop full width and then have the width transition. So you have to specify, okay, let's change the height. Let's see what, yeah, what? Broke everything. Because you have to specify how many seconds. So we'll have the height change for 2 seconds. So, oh, comma. There we go. So now it looks a little bit cooler. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the cool thing is that the hover works for anything. So check this out. Let's have some paragraph text. We'll say lorem. Let's add an image. Give me an animal. Honey badger. Honey badger don't give a honey badger. What a cute little thing. What do they eat? Cobras? That is an adorable little guy. So, image. Boop. There he is. Yeah, he's too big. With Alright, cool. So we have a paragraph tag, we have a div with an idea box. Yeah, why not? So let's say when we hover over the image, you want it to get small. So how do you do that? Well, the same way we did this, we just target the original element and then add the colon and then hover. So the original element, I'm just going to use the img tag, and then we'll say colon hover. So when you hover over it, what do you want to happen? Well, let's change the width to 100 pixels. Okay. Boop. And that's it. But that doesn't look too nice. It gets all jumpy and nasty. So it might help to add a transition. So that's where we follow these steps. So target the original element, give it a transition property. We'll transition the width for 2 seconds. And then now it's nice and gentle. All right, now let's play around with the text. How about when you hover over it, we could underline it, we could change the font of it, we could do anything. So target the paragraph, pull in a hover. So what do we want to change on a hover? What could we change? The border. I don't know, maybe just the color. Change the color to green. So boom, when you hover over it, it turns green. And then if you want to make that gradually green, then target the paragraph and you say transition, and then what you want to transition. So we want the color to transition. And for how many seconds? 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and take it off, 2, 3. So the border, you got a border 2 pixel solid red. I don't think that has a transition. Oh, it does. Kind of. Yeah. Nice. So the underline and overline don't have a transition, but yeah, cool stuff. Questions? Yeah, awesome. So let's say we just want this image to be like crooked a little bit, right? Give it some dynamics. So what I would do is give it a, not transition, transform, rotate, and we'll give it like a 10 deg. Hey, there he is. So he's just chilling, going sideways, going in and out. I might want to rotate him completely sideways. There we go. That works too. So that's with the transform property. And then if you want it to transform when you rotate, then we have to give it a transition of transform, and we'll rotate him in 3 seconds. And then this has to go down here. So it's saying, oh, I wonder if it'll do both. Yeah, of course it will. Or I could have done with 2 seconds, comma, transform 3 seconds, and then gotten rid of that. So all you do is add the transition property to the original element. You say what you want to transform for how many seconds, and then you specify it in the hover selector. So, funny looking guy. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, if that's the case, then let's move on. So yesterday, who remembers what static positioning is? When I say static, you say default, static, no? So static is just default. That's all it is, just like page flow, right? Like if you put a div and then a div after it, it goes below it. That's a default positioning. Fixed, what is fixed? Fixed is when you scroll the page, it stays there, right? Like if I wanted to, let's do it, let's make our image, that's warm, it worked. All right, so let's say if I scroll the page, I still wanted our little honey badger to stay on the page, then I could target every image and say position fixed. Hey. Now when I scroll, our little honey badger just hangs out there on the screen. And again, it's taken out of page flow, so everything just scrolls behind it. What is this mostly used for? Well, navigation bars, really, or like social media icons where they say like, add us on Instagram because we're trying to be hip. And then again, you position it using top, left, right, and bottom. So you could say, well, right now it'll be in the position where it would have appeared originally, which is right after this text. So I can say top 0, right? And then he popped up at the top. Top 10. Make sense? Look at him. All right. The other two positions are very obnoxious and annoying. So I'm going to show you that another time, because I think Bootstrap will really blow your minds. And it's a lot more fun. And it's kind of irrelevant for the most part now. All right. No questions? Final chance before I start Bootstrap? All right.